What's up, Wolfpack fans? It's John Ramey. We are going to put the extended versions of my interviews for the pregame show as Nevada takes on Troy here in week 1. We've got Chris Murray from Nevada Sports Net, and we've got Mountain West insider Terrence Newman. So here is my conversation with Chris Murray to start. And my first question to Chris was, exactly how long have you been covering Nevada football? He looks young, but he's got the ancient wisdom of a grizzled, gray-bearded veteran.
Since 2002. So if my math is correct, that's 22 years of Nevada football.
Okay. That's a good long chunk. So when you talk about the low ebb of the program in the FBS era, I mean, you kind of know what you're talking about. You've collected the data firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, Nevada joined the FBS in 1992. So about 10 years after that, I was working at the Reno Gazette-Journal. And then the last 22 years kind of helping document the history of Nevada football. Obviously, the last couple of years have been a rough patch. But, for the majority of that time, Nevada's been a very proud football program. Not maybe a ton of conference championships, but certainly a lot of times getting to bowl games. And, given some of the infrastructure and budgetary issues, I think it's mostly punched above its weight. And I think that's kind of Jeff Choate's challenge, is to make Nevada punch above its weight. Yet again, wasn't able to do it the last couple of years. But, by and large, it's been a successful program based on the metrics and investment into Nevada football.
It's tempting now after the close loss to SMU to say, well, now this Troy game's really important. But actually, this Troy game was probably always really important, no matter what the outcome, win or lose against SMU. Is that how you see it?
I think a lot more of the games look winnable, but Troy's a very strong program, 23 wins over the last 2 years, but not many returning starters, only 38 returning scholarship players. That's the third fewest in the FBS. New coaching staff, and they get them early in the season. They've never played a game together. This group of guys is coaching staff. So if Nevada wants to make a bowl, if it wants to kind of shock everyone and get to that 7-win mark, I think this is a game you have to win to be able to hit that mark. I think this is a winnable game. Now, it's a difficult challenge going on the road, in a place that the, heat and humidity is going to be a factor. I think Nevada's depth is going to be tested. But yeah, if you were kind of sketching out the season and what it takes to be successful, at the beginning of the year, Troy had to be one of those games that you go out there and win. And I think it's really important because, even the last couple of years, we've seen Nevada go and have good games. They almost beat Kansas at home as a 20-point underdog. The year before that, they almost beat San Jose State on the road as more than a 2-touchdown underdog, but they couldn't follow it up. So I think this game kind of tells us, was that SMU game just Nevada being really pumped up for the first game under Jeff Choate, and then they lose by 3 touchdowns against a rebuilding team the next game? Or do they build off that, go out and get a win, show that they can finish a game, and then kind of get a little bit more belief in the program and in the community?
It's interesting you bring that up because, yeah, after the near miss against SMU, I also thought about Kansas, and Ken Wilson won his first 2 games as head coach at Nevada, right? There have been maybe not long stretches, but kind of sparks of optimism and short bursts of play that have been, a reason for optimism. So in this first year of Choate, is success, at least kind of aesthetically, maybe just being a better version of kind of what we saw under Ken Wilson, in that it's going to be a physical team that relies on defense and maybe doesn't have the explosive offense and needs to execute at an extremely high level to win games?
I don't think the formula for success is much different. I don't think the style and scheme they want to play is much different. They want to run the ball. They want to establish that. They want to be physical up front. They want to take some deep shots off play action, but they want to be a team that defensively is kind of where it's led. And both these guys have defensive backgrounds. They actually have pretty similar resumes if you look at their history, outside of the fact that Jeff Choate had been a head coach before. I don't think Nevada's built to win games in the 30s. I think the passing game will look improved over what we saw against SMU. That was a unique challenge where Nevada wanted to get the ball out really quickly. But yeah, I think the defense is going to have to lead this team specifically in year 1. And I think how this season should be judged is, did Nevada get the most out of its talent? I don't think it was able to do that the last couple of years. I think everyone's going to look at the win-loss total, and that's going to dictate in their mind whether it was a successful season. I think if you dig a little bit deeper, given the roster situation, given the culture inherited, I think it's more about getting the best out of your players because that's what Nevada always has to be. Nevada's not going to have the best roster in the Mountain West based on NIL, based on facilities, based on budget. It's going to have to overachieve what that program should be. And the only way to do that is by player development and scheming players into being more successful than they would be individually otherwise. So that's how I will judge this season. Obviously, wins and losses, you're going to look at that, and that's going to be a factor. I don't think it can be the full factor in the first year of a rebuilding season.
Totally agree. But like, what's a win total that you think is not considering everything you just said? What's a win total that everybody can live with?
I think you can live with 4. You've doubled
Yeah.
it, playing 10 of your 13 games against bowl teams from the previous year. I think 5 is a pretty strong season, and I think 6 or 7 is a wild success. You know, had Nevada beaten SMU, maybe we change those expectations. But this is a team that was projected, according to the Vegas sportsbooks, to win 2.5 games. So I think if you go out and you win 4, and you play a lot more close games. I think that was a problem under the Ken Wilson era, is 20 losses, 16 by double digits. So at least, nobody wants to lose a game. Nobody wants to lose to SMU. But that's a lot different outing, losing by 5 in a game that you kind of dominated for 50 minutes compared to going out and losing by 20. So you have to have that nuance. But if there's a win total that I think you can hit and say this is really successful, a great first year, I think it's 5.
Anybody individually either confirm what you anticipated coming into the season or maybe surprised you with their performance, I guess either positively or negatively in that first game?
Well, Henry Ika Hihifo, I thought was really, really good. I mean, that guy's not played a lot of games on the offensive line. So for him to go out against a pretty good SMU offensive line and flash and kind of, show a lot of stuff, couple tackles for loss, stuff there at the end zone. I think that was really promising because I think Nevada needs a big playmaker on the defensive line to kind of force teams to pay attention to and double team. I think Keaton Crawford did exactly what I thought he would do. He was highly touted. He was my Mountain West newcomer of the year, and he looked like that. I think Nevada's secondary was a lot better than I thought. I mean, Chad Brown has been a safety basically his whole career. In his 6th year now, he moves to cornerback. I thought he played really well. I mean, the interception, obviously, but outside of that, I thought he was really sticky. Thought Michael Coates on the other side was really good. I thought Kane Savage in the nickel was really good. So I would be optimistic about what you saw from the secondary. I wish I could have seen a little bit more of Patrick Garwo, the third. He touched the ball just a couple times, but it seemed like it, was pretty, powerful and explosive. So I think the running backs you got to be pretty happy with. I know Savion Red's numbers weren't that great, but it seems like he's a pretty good running back for the Mountain West as well. Cortez Braham Jr. getting his first FBS touchdown in his 6th college season. I thought that was positive. I think he's going to play a big factor in Nevada's passing game. And, obviously Brendan Lewis's legs were really good. I thought he played a nice, clean game. I think they're going to have to get the ball down the field more often to be better on offense. But, he accounted for like 80% of the yards and 2 of the 3 touchdowns. And, I thought Nevada was really good in the red zone. That's got to happen. They got to score touchdowns down there, and they did in 3 of their 4 attempts. So I think on the whole, there were a lot of really positive things. And I really like watching these linebackers play. I think Drew Watson and Naki Matialona are really fun players, are really athletic guys, maybe a little bit undersized, but they run to the ball, they hit hard, and I think it was really showcased in that game against SMU.
I guess we haven't really experienced at Nevada since the Norvell departure, any kind of NIL era, transfer portal era upheaval, in a way that people feared might be the case. Are we entering an era maybe where Nevada can develop and keep players, or do you just think it's inevitable that anybody that Choate or somebody that Choate develops is going to get poached by one of the autonomous 4, or maybe is that a red herring?
I think it's always a worry. I think Nevada's never going to have the money of even the best teams in the Mountain West, let alone the best teams at the Power 4 level. And I would never blame a player for trying to cash in now, especially in football, because you don't know if you're going to be a pro. And even if you are a pro, you don't know what injuries are going to come. I think the one thing you can do to combat losing players that you develop up to the Power Conference level when you can't match their money is by having a coach that people really love and they want to be around and they believe in. And I think Jeff Choate is really that guy. Speaking with his wife, Janet, she kind of compared him to the feather in Dumbo's hat. That made him believe he could fly, even though he was an elephant. And Jeff Choate kind of has a history of uplifting people, uprising them, making them perform higher than they thought. And if you're around someone like that, you want to stay around someone like that. So I think that's the best way you can keep talented players from leaving, is by having such a strong relationship that they're going to pick that over the money. But NIL is a real thing, and it's really difficult in football. In basketball, you can get $1 million and put a pretty good roster together. In football, you can get $1 million and you buy yourself a quarterback. And there's 21 other starters. So that is going to be a challenge for Nevada, and that's why this community needs to get behind the program if you're going to have sustainable winning. You can maybe have a pocket of 1 or 2 kind of spike years, but to be championship level year in and year out, there needs to be a higher funding level via season ticket sales, via NIL, via donations, via all of that stuff.
All right. We get Murray on the mailbag, on 1,000 words, on the Den podcast. Where else can we get Murray? Because we always need more Murray content.
Yes, just
I
go to
do.
Nevada.
I do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, NevadaSportsNet.com is probably the best place to get it. It probably all ends up there at some point. But yeah, if you do need more Murray, and I don't blame you if you don't need more Murray, but yeah, just go to NevadaSportsNet.com.
That's Nevada Sports Net's Chris Murray, one of the great reporters in all of college athletics, and it's always a pleasure to visit with Chris. I also checked in with Terrence Newman, Mountain West insider Terrence Newman. We talked about his impressions from the SMU game and his predictions for the matchup against Troy in this one. And also, we looked at the other matchups in the Mountain West on this first full opening day, the official first week of college football. Here is Mountain West insider Terrence Newman. Terrence, your thoughts on Nevada's very narrow defeat in the opener, SMU, with that furious 16-point fourth quarter comeback, wiping out a 24-13 lead, and a lot to build on, I thought, for the Silver and Blue.
Oh, I think there's a whole lot to build on. I'm sure for a lot of the Wolfpack faithful, it was a little heartbreaking at the end there, but I think there's so much to build on. First takeaway, remember how last week we were talking about evaluations on guys from last year might be a little off, because it's a different coach, it's a different system. I saw a different B. Lou out there.
Yeah, you did.
I really did. We talked about this last year. I wasn't fully sold on Brandon Lewis last year.
I was, and I remain.
You kept trying to tell me to get on the train. And you know what? I'm getting on the train. I saw a different player. He was more confident. You could just tell it. The play calling was better for his style of play. He's got a few more playmakers around him. That definitely helps. But there was just a confidence to him. He had a command of the offense that I didn't see last year.
Yep.
And also Sean Dollars. Sean Dollars looked great to me. I think it helps having Red back there with him. So it's more of a 1-2 punch. But he looked like he was in better shape. He looked like he was running the ball with a little more quickness in his step. And those were 2 players off the top of my head that just look like different players this year. And just some more reason to be excited. And honestly, my number one takeaway is Coach Choate is the guy. I think he is the guy to get this program back where it needs to be. If I have one thing that I'm still a little concerned about, there's definitely an upgrade at the wide receiver position. I feel like we do have better wide receivers this year, but I still want to see more consistency in the passing game. Mm-hmm. I think we need to get more big plays in the passing game because it's obvious what the identity of this team's going to be. It's going to be a run the ball control, play hard-nosed defense. That's going to be the formula for this team to win. But they're going to need some big playability in the passing game so that they can stop the other team's defense from being able to just jam the box on them. They're going to have to find a way to keep the other team's defense honest, But I think once they find that out, once they figure that out, this team's going to win some games. They're going to win some games in conference this year.
I mean, look, Brendan Lewis, 14 of 26, 132 yards, 2 touchdown passes in the first half, equaling his entire touchdown pass total from 2023.
I think that says it all right there.
And he didn't turn the ball over. Like, obviously, you want the
That's
yardage
key.
to be, you want more yardage out of your passing game and your quarterback than 132 yards. But if he goes 14 to 26 and no picks every game,
yeah,
I totally agree with you. Nevada's going to win some games.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with the style of play we have. I mean, the defense was solid last year, and they seem to be just as solid, if not even better this year. So if we can control the ball so that the defense can rest and get their win back, if we can run the clock off when we need to and not turn the ball over, this team's going to be in every game they play this year. They're not going to get blown out if they can stick to that formula.
And Nevada possessed the ball about 13 more minutes than SMU in the first game and had 71 plays to SMU's 69. So I think there is a real vision.
Yeah.
And I
that's
think
the identity.
To it. Yeah.
That's the philosophy of the team. And it came through strong. And it seemed like you never got that last year.
Okay. Troy has like 61 new players, a new coach. Their quarterback is named Goose Crowder, and that's a great football name, Terrence. So that is maybe an X factor for the Troy Trojans, but it's tough to know what to expect. I mean, I talked to Jeff Choate about this. It's tough to know exactly what to expect. There's a lot of West Virginia heritage in this coaching staff. And also the head coach, Jared Parker, was the OC at Notre Dame last year. So Nevada doesn't quite know what they're getting in the way they knew with SMU. So they're going to have to make adjustments in the game. And I think that's something that if they do well, you're going to text me about in the middle of the broadcast. And I'm going to be happy to get that text.
A lot like Nevada, they have a lot of new players coming in. So it is going to be a kind of wait and see. But if a lot of Nevada Wolfpack fans might not know this because being on the West Coast, but Troy has been for the last couple of years one of the upper echelon group of 5 schools. That's a school that they have an identity, they have a philosophy, they have a system that works. I believe double-digit wins the last 2 seasons. So they lost a lot of talent, but they brought in a lot of new talent. I'm gonna tend to err on the side that this talent they brought in is gonna be good, because it's just been a solid, consistent program. Even though it is a smaller program, it is they play good ball down there. So this is gonna be a tough game. And it is gonna be interesting to see what they look like. But it's gonna be a rowdy environment. They have a small but rabid fan base. And I think it's going to be a really good test to see where this this Nevada team's at, because I believe Troy is the type of talent we're going to see a lot come conference play.
Okay, so just to tie a ribbon on the Troy preview, I think if Nevada does the things they did against SMU, possess the ball longer than Troy, they don't turn it over, they win the turnover battle. And they have that balance, passing and running. I think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, I agree. If they can control the clock, if they can make sure the defense gets enough rest, if they can find a way, like I said, they're gonna have to find a way to get 1 or 2 big plays a game. We don't need to be Hawaii in the run and gun, but they have to find a way to keep the defense honest. If they can do that, then that's just going to open up those running lanes. And I like the way the running attack looks this year. So yeah, this is a toss-up game. I think it can go either way, depending on which team executes their game plan the best.
Okay, let's look at the Mountain West scoreboard. Colorado State at Texas. Texas is favored by 33.5 in Austin over the Rams and Jay Norvell. Your thoughts?
Well, I am a big fan of Colorado State this year. I think Colorado State is a dark horse contender to win the Mountain West. I think they're a dark horse contender for the playoffs. But I don't think they're a dark horse contender to win this game. I do think they're going to cover that spread. I'll tell you that much. I think they're going to cover the spread for sure. But
33.5 is a big number. Even
33 is a really big number.
Even at Darrell Royal Stadium in Austin, Texas.
But you know what? This is one of those games where you might look at the scoreboard and it might look pretty rough and pretty ugly for them, but this is one of those games that later on in the year is going to help out Colorado State. It's going to make them a better team, a tougher team playing against that top, because this is top talent. This is top 5 talent in America they're going up against, and when you can make plays against a team like that, it's going to instill some confidence in them that is going to carry into the season. So, kudos to Colorado State for scheduling this game, and I think they're going to be better off for it.
Okay, I'm going to skip over Merrimack at Air Force. That doesn't interest me. Boise State at Georgia Southern in Statesboro, Georgia. So down south, the Broncos. 13-point favorites on the road against Nevada's opponent next week at Mackey Stadium, Georgia Southern.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good game. That's Georgia State. I'm sorry, Georgia Southern is a scrappy, hard-nosed team. Ex-USC coach Clay Helton.
That's right.
At the helm there, but they're another school that folks on the West Coast might not know. But they started out as an FCS power, and then they made the jump to the FBS. And honestly, ever since they jumped to the FBS, they have not been overmatched. They hit the ground running. They're a hard-nosed team. They run the ball well. They play solid defense.
So
don't be surprised
if
you look up and you see Boise State in a dogfight in the fourth quarter. Now, I think Boise State's going to win, but I don't think Boise State's going to run away with it.
Okay. Got it. UNLV at Houston. Houston, the Cougars favored by 3.
And this one's at Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a really good test to see where UNLV's at. I think if this game was played last year, I think UNLV would have beat them. Probably would have beat them pretty easily. This year, I don't know. Because like we said last week, I'm not sure what the quarterback play is at UNLV. I'm not sure what I'm getting from that position. So it's hard to project what I'm going to get from that team. So this is going to be a good measuring stick for them. I'm excited to see what both these teams look like, because I think Houston is going to be one of those teams. This is their second year now in the Big 12. That jump, SMU is going to figure it out this year. That jump from Group of 5 to Power Conference is tougher than folks think. There is a difference. And I feel like Houston in their second year, they're going to be a little more acclimated. They're going to be a little bit more at that Power 4 level. So this is going to be a tough game for UNLV. I'm excited, though, to tune in and see what the quarterback position is, because that's going to give me a little bit more information about what to expect from UNLV going forward for the rest of the season.
Fresno State at Michigan. The Wolverines are 21-point favorites.
Michigan, kind of like what we just said with UNLV, I don't really know what to expect because I'm not really sure what I'm getting from the quarterback position again. And I know the defense is going to be good. It's Michigan. They have recruit the best defensive players in the country, but I'm not sure exactly what we're going to get from the offense. And Fresno State is a team that has proven time and time again that they fear no one.
And they play physical.
No problems going into a Big Ten school's house and beating them. And I'm not predicting the upset, but they're going to cover.
Okay. Hawaii getting 13.5 at home against UCLA. And your friend, the new head coach,
my friend
of the Bruins, Deshaun Foster.
My high school rival. For folks that don't know, my high school crosstown rival was Deshaun Foster's high school, and he was a grade ahead of me. But we played 2 years against each other in high school. I know the man well. He's the best football player I ever played against. I'm excited for what he is going to do at UCLA. I think he's going to surprise people at UCLA. If I know anything about the type of football and philosophy he has when it comes to the game, they're going to be a much more hard-nosed, grinded out. They're not going to get pushed around. He's going to build a team that can run the ball.
2 touchdown favorites at Hawaii.
At Hawaii. I'm one of the few that actually stayed up and watched the Hawaii-Delaware State game. And here's the thing. You could say it's hard to get anything from a game like that, but all the vibes I got from that game, I didn't like from Hawaii. It was a team that honestly Hawaii should have blown out by 40, 50 points. And they struggled. Delaware State is a lower level FCS school. It's one of the lower HBCUs when it comes to college football. And Hawaii on the outside and the athletes, they look the same. They didn't look like they overmatched them when they should have. Now, where they did have an advantage was on the line, but they're not going to have that advantage against UCLA. And if they didn't have an advantage at the skill position against Delaware State, then they're going to be at a deficit against UCLA. I think UCLA is going to probably – this is going to be a tough game for Hawaii to cover. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be a long night, I think, for Hawaii.
I'm skipping Texas A&M Commerce at San Diego State and Robert Morris at Utah State. Let's now focus. New Mexico at Arizona. Number 21, Arizona is favored by 30.
New Mexico.
Lobos struggled last week. They lost to Montana State.
They lost to Montana State. I watched the game. Now, they were ahead for a lot of the game, but if you were really watching the game, Montana State, which is they're a powerhouse FCS school, but it's still an FCS school. Their offensive line was pushing New Mexico's defensive line around. You would have thought it was the reverse. You would have thought they were the FBS school, New Mexico's the FCS school. So that was very concerning to see just how much they got pushed around up front. Now, their quarterback, Dampier, he's much better than what I saw out of the quarterback position at New Mexico last year. He can move around. He can create some stuff. He's not the biggest guy. He's only about 5'10", which is probably part of the reason why he's at New Mexico. So that does give him a little bit of hope, but Arizona is stacked this year. They lost their head coach, but they returned a lot of their offense from last year that was really good. They returned their quarterback. They returned their star wide receiver. They added Ja'Cory McCroskey, who was the running back at New Mexico last year, who was a stud, who was one of my favorite running backs in the Mountain West last year. I feel like Arizona, it's going to be their first game as a Big 12 member. They're going to want to probably, have a solid outing. They are a team that honestly can contend for the Big 12 championship this year.
Wow. And Brent Brennan, former San Jose State head coach, Brent Brennan's first season. You
great
think
hire.
Arizona's in the mix for a Big
Absolutely
12
great hire. And yeah, they're in the mix for a Big 12 championship. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a long night for New Mexico.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, a game brimming with Terrence Newman intrigue. Wyoming at your Sun Devils at Arizona State. Now, Terrence, last week you said Wyoming is a top 3 team in the Mountain West.
Yes.
And Arizona State, 7-point favorites at home in Tempe.
Do you hear that, John?
What's that?
That's the upset alert.
Oh, okay.
That's the upset alert alarm going.
Well, you're calling the Cowboys over your Sun Devils.
I went to Arizona State. I love Arizona State University. We're a school that's rebuilding right now. We're a school in transition in so many different ways. Second year of the new coach's second year, first year in the Big 12. There's just so much up in the air with that program, and just nothing has been consistent these last few years. And Wyoming's been the exact opposite. Now, Wyoming is breaking in a new coach, but if I'm right, he was on the staff last year. So pretty much most of the staff has stayed together. So there is a consistency to Wyoming staff. We went over their roster. Their offense returns a lot. They're gonna be able to run the ball. I think Sabota is your typical Wyoming quarterback. Big arm, big body, can run the ball. I think they're going to be able to run the ball down ASU's throat. I really do. I don't see how ASU is going to be able to stop the running game, and I think that Wyoming's defense is going to be able to do enough to pull off the upset.
All right. Terrence likes the Pokes in the Valley of the Sun, upsetting Arizona State. Now, of course, this will air. You're going to be right and wrong about some of these because it will be a little bit dated when it airs on the Bud Light Tailgate Show. But this pod will drop Saturday morning.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning. We're taping this August 30th, Friday evening. So the Intrepid fans will get your reads early. And then I guess I'll cut out
the ones. And then judge me later.
Yeah, I'll cut out the ones that you're wrong about by the time this goes to air.
Look,
all right, Terrence Newman. Any closing thoughts?
Honestly, it's just I'm excited that like last week was like a little appetizer of college football. Just a little wet the palate of college football, but like we got a full 3-course meal of college football this weekend. There's big games, big opening day games. You didn't get so many big games first week of the season, I feel like, before. We're starting to get more and more of those. I'm excited to see USC, LSU. Both of those teams, I think, are going to be a little better than people think. I'm excited to see that. I'm going to leave you with 2 upsets. Texas A&M is going to beat Notre Dame.
Okay.
Clemson beats Georgia.
Whoa.
Judge me next week, guys.
All right. Okay, that's it for the Ramey pregame pod, RPP. Hope you enjoyed the video version here on YouTube. Of course, you can hear edited excerpts of this coming up at 3 o'clock Pacific time. The Bud Light Tailgate Show starts on 105.7 FM in Northern Nevada and on the Varsity Network worldwide on the internet. Kickoff at 4 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock here in Troy, Alabama. And Nevada faces Troy in week 1. Nevada looking to get into that win column. And it's the first all-time meeting between the Troy Trojans of the Sun Belt Conference and the Silver and Blue. So tune in, 105.7 FM, and you'll hear excerpts from these interviews on the pregame show, the Bud Light Tailgate Show that starts at 3 Pacific, kickoff at 4 Pacific. And looking forward to riding along with all of you for this one as Nevada opens the road portion of the schedule at Troy. Until next time, so long.